Welcome to 12-Minute Talks, where important information is shared in a short time period. Learn from other business owners, entrepreneurs, and experts about what they do to help you find solutions to everyday topics in 12 minutes or less. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 12-Minute Talks podcast. I'm really excited to have with us today Colleen Hammond. She's a business mentor and helps clients grow and scale their six-figure businesses into seven, eight, and nine-figure businesses. Colleen, welcome to the show and thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, so I'm excited. There's a lot of keywords there that we threw: business mentor, growing, scaling. Everybody hears it all that time, but maybe they don't know how to go about that, right? Um, so before we get into what it is that you do, why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and how you got started in this industry?
Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 10. I was the person that was going door to door and volunteering I grew up in Michigan, so I'd shovel sidewalks and that type of thing. But I lied about my age to get my first paper route. So I was 10 years old and you had to be 12. So I said, well, yeah, I'm 12. Sure, why not? And I grew and scaled my paper route business and then turned around and sold it. So I really have been doing this since I was 10 years old. So it's kind of funny. But then when I was 14, I started modeling and acting. That's actually how I put myself through college. In college, I studied chemistry and psychology because I was fascinated by people. So I was doing chemistry because I wanted to be a doctor, but I was doing psychology because, well, first I was dating a guy that was a psych major. And then I was so close to the end of my degree when I broke up with him, college administrator just said, "Oh, just go take three more classes, I think it was, and you'll have a degree in psychiatry as well." So then I started studying personality types and body language and NLP and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up my senior year in college, instead of going on to medical school, because of all the modeling and acting I was doing, I ended up landing a job. I was doing some television commercials and that type of thing, and I started doing the weather at the Weather Channel, and then I was an anchor and reporter at CNN. And again, I was doing more science and more psychology and studying people. And also during that time, because I spent so much time in front of the camera, I learned how to be an image consultant. So I started doing personal branding and image consulting, which I still do. You can't get away from it. And then after the children were born, I started running a digital marketing agency. And so I did that from home and wrote a book and did some touring and speaking. And then I found with all the digital marketing, I ended up getting on the phone with these business owners and teaching them about sales and marketing and building a funnel and how to grow and scale their business. But I also was finding that they were dealing with overwhelm and burnout. So instead, I had somebody else running the digital marketing agency, and I started doing executive coaching. And from my executive coaching, teaching people how to overcome stress and burnout, I ended up teaching them how to build their businesses and grow and scale and exit if they want out of their businesses. So I was approached by a gentleman by the name of Jay Abraham, Roland Fraser, Adam Lyons. There's just a big group of us that are business partners. And they asked me about doing some business consulting with them. So they're my business partners. And that's kind of where, I took all this huge background and now I'm using all of it instead of like, okay, only digital marketing or only
Right.
business consulting. I do it all for a client.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really good to be able to use all of your experience. Um, that sometimes people don't learn on their own, right? And be able to impart that to them. Um, yeah, and so why don't you tell us a little bit more? You said, burnout, that seems to be something really popular nowadays. You hear it often, people quitting their jobs. Um, how can somebody go from having a business where they feel burnt out to actually being a business that runs on its own?
Yeah, there's a huge number of steps, and what happens as entrepreneurs, we would rather work 80 hours for ourselves than 40 for someone else, right? So some people take that really seriously, and they work 80 hours a week. But then they become like many self-employed people who start a business, for example. They become so ingrained in the business that they don't feel that the business can run without them. The best business you should be able to step away from for 1 year and it will flourish without you. But what happens is we start to feel that, hey, it's got my name on it. I'm the founder, I'm the business owner. And we become so emotionally intertwined with the business that we get to this overwhelm and this burnout because we feel that nobody can do it as well as we can. And my challenge is I love to learn. So I'm constantly going back to school. I've got, numerous degrees, and then I have a degree in chemistry, psychology. I've got graphic design degrees. I've got business and finance degrees, and I love to learn, but consequently I know a lot about a lot of things, but I'm not an expert in any of them. Well, I am in a few. So I'm better off hiring somebody to do it for me. So I have learned that along the way, that now I can work 4, 5, 6 hours a week, but I have other people that I have hired that can handle that stuff. So it takes it off my plate. So when 90% of diseases and doctor's office visits are from stress. So the more and the closer people come to this burnout, well, I'm running a business because I want to provide for my family, but I'm doing it 80 hours a week and I don't have time for my family. So there has to be a balance in there. So that's what we do, is we do a deep dive on someone's business, and we find out how we can kind of like surgically remove you from your business a little bit, bring back your happiness and your joy in life, have a more fulfilling family life, a more fulfilling relationship life. But at the same time, your business is 10xing, because that's normally what we see is somebody can 10x their investment with us within at least a year.
Right.
So by going in and really saying, okay, what's missing in your business? Where are you overspending time? Where are you overspending? Where are your people? Where could they be better allocated? So, and sometimes, we do that for each other too in our own personal lives. So my coach, my business partners will coach each other, because sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. And it happens to all of us. Like, wait a minute, Colleen, you're doing a little bit too much over here. Turn that over to your VA.
Yeah.
Or yeah, you're getting back into that graphic design again because you had that degree. You need to back off of that, Colleen. Oh, you're right. So
Right. Right.
we all do it. It's
Of
just part of
course.
human nature.
So what I gathered from what you said is that to delegate things, because you might be an expert in what you do, but it doesn't mean that you can handle everything in a business, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I always think bigger companies, right? Like Fortune 500 companies and so forth. They have a department for sales, a department for marketing, a department for HR, right? But a lot of self-employed people or smaller businesses, it's just one or two people maybe doing everything, right? And that can certainly get overwhelming. I think also with like technology, like tools like Canva, people feel like what you were saying with graphic design, like, oh, I can just go on Canva and do it. But it's like, really, it's not going to come out the same as a graphic designer, that's what they do, you know?
Right. And you can tell. And as a graphic designer, you look at somebody, it's like, oh, you did this, didn't you? You worked
Right?
really
Oh,
hard.
okay. Yeah,
And the other
yeah.
thing too is that when you hire a graphic designer to do something, they may go into Canva and do it in 3 minutes, but you spend an hour and a half doing it.
Exactly. So,
How much is your time worth?
at the beginning of the year, people say, oh, I'm going to choose a word for this year, like whatever, right? Like to mark
Mhm.
their year. It's funny because my word was delegation, because I'm one of those, like, oh, if I don't do it, then, but then I'm like, no, I'm going to delegate things that I can, like certain things I can't in my industry. But, anyways, why don't you tell us? I mentioned at the beginning of of your introduction that you help scale six-figure businesses to seven, eight, and nine digits, right?
Okay.
So does something have to happen, obviously, besides hiring you, but something with the business owner, let's say mentally, that you've seen that is like a common pattern that they need to overcome?
I think one of the big things is they think that they need to be the one doing it all. And people need to learn to back up and take a step back from their company. Also, a big thing, because I do work with people who are already earning six figures in their business, because we could really move the needle for them. So, just for anybody who's not there yet, one of the most important things you need to do first is hire a VA, because people will say, I can't, I'm not to the point where I can hire a VA yet. But that's when you need to hire one and get into the habit of delegating and letting somebody else help you. And there's a onlinejobs.ph, for example. You can go to Fiverr, you can go to Upwork. There's plenty of places that you can go. Graphic design, find somebody to do graphic design for you on Fiverr. You need a voiceover done. I do voiceover work, but do I need to be voiceover and doing all my own voiceovers? Gosh, there's people on Fiverr I've got stuff done for $25 and hired a professional out of England. And
Yeah,
they,
you should.
so there's so many things that you can outsource, and it's going to be cheaper than you think. But again, it goes back to what's the value of your time? If you're spending all this time on Canva creating something, what could you have done with that hour and a half that somebody else could have done in 5 minutes and you pay them $5, $10 for it?
Right.
So find a way to start hiring out. Write down a list, spend 1 week, write down everything you do. Set your timer for 15 minutes. It's going to be a pain in the butt, but set your timer for 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour, whatever is going to work for you. And write down when the timer goes off, write down what you did in the past hour. Write down what you did and do that for a solid week. Now sit down and look at that list and find out how long this took me, and if I outsourced it, how much would it cost me? So somebody may not be ready to hire a VA full time. And if you like, my very first VA was on onlinejobs.ph. She worked out of the Philippines. She's actually still with me. Name is Sheila. And I paid her $400 a month. And I pay her a lot more now because she's very, very good. But that was probably, it scared the bejeebers out of me. I'm like, ooh, $400. Not that I can make the money, but I want to make sure that I don't, like hire her and then let her down. So start maybe with some little jobs, find a graphic designer, find a little bit pieces here and there. And then when you start looking at your business, you'll find out there's areas you're spending too much money. There's areas where you should be outsourcing and spending more money. And then start looking at, and people are like, oh, get on social media. Yeah, but you got to do it right. So start looking at where your business is coming from. Somebody posted about a couple of months ago, like, oh, my website is worth X amount of dollars because I'm getting all these kind of visitors. How many of them are converting to sales? Make sure you're tracking the right KPIs, make sure you're tracking the right numbers, and look at those numbers that are really moving the needle, because everything starts with the sale of a product. So where are those new customers coming in that are making those sales? So there's so many different areas, and everybody's at a different place in their business, and that's probably why we sit down with a business owner for 4, 5, 6 hours, and we really dig deep, and we have a specific outline that we go through. And depending on their answers, we head in different directions. But that would be the very first thing I would do, is find out what you can outsource and get into the habit of hiring and delegating, because you want to run the business so that you can be making 6, 7, 8, 9 figures a year while you're on vacation, that you
Right.
don't have to be there.
Exactly, exactly. It reminds me a lot of that book, The E Myth, where they, I don't know if you read it,
Yeah.
they go over a lot of that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. And so, Colleen, it's been great having you today on the 12-Minute Talks podcast. How can somebody reach out to you if they would like more information about your services?
Probably the best place to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm at Colleen Hammond on LinkedIn, or you can just email me at colleen@colleenhammond.com. My website is down for a reason. I have more customers than I have more clients that I'm working with that I can handle. But if you email me at colleen@colleenhammond.com, or best place again would be on LinkedIn. I'm on all the socials, but I spend most of my day on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And like always, I will have all of the links down below so anybody listening or watching the video can easily follow our guest today. And I just wanted to quickly introduce myself for those of you who don't know who I am. My name's Lorena Tomasini, and I'm the owner of Mom Life and Health Insurance Agency, where we help families and businesses with their financial protection needs. And Colleen, I do have one last question for you. What would you say is a good book for entrepreneurs out there? It's maybe something
So glad you
that we
asked me
haven't
that
heard of.
question. I am so glad you asked me that question. Profit First. That is the very first book that I have all of my business owners read. It's called Profit First. And the gentleman who wrote its name is Mike. And it's like this really Michael Rickovich or something. But if you look Profit First, you'll find it any place on, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, any store is going to have it. That will show you how to set up your financial structure in your business and make sure that you're getting paid. You must pay yourself. And so Profit First would be the number one book I would recommend.
Great. And I will put the link down below. Colleen, thank you so much for that valuable information. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I just really appreciate the fact that you had me on, and I really hope that people will take a step back from their business and, get it to the point where you can live your dream life. Like that's why you went into business. So do it right.
Yeah, I don't think anybody on their deathbed is like, oh, I wish I would have spent more time on my email and with clients or whatever,
On
right?
Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.